It may appear like everything is collapsing around Diddy, from losing his deal with Ciroc and Diageo, to stepping down from his media company Revolt TV, forced to pretty much. But if you're smart, you wouldn't count him out yet. Law 24 reads, play the perfect courtier. The perfect courtier thrives in the world where everything revolves around power and political dexterity. He has mastered the art of indirection. He flatters, yields to superiors, asserts power over others in the most oblique and graceful manner. Learn and apply the laws of courtiership, and there will be no limit to how far you can rise in the court. One of the most bizarre reactions to the allegations that were brought forth by Cassie, Diddy's ex-girlfriend of many years and one of his signees to Bad Boy Records, was by the music industry at large. Many people found it freaky that many voices that have had plenty to say about way smaller allegations against other people were nearly silent when it came to saying something about Diddy's heinous accusations. And it's all by Diddy's design. Great courtiers throughout history have mastered the science of manipulating people. They make the king feel more kingly. They make everyone else fear their power. They are magicians of appearance, knowing that most things at court are judged by how they seem. Great courtiers are gracious and polite. Their aggression is veiled and indirect. Masters of the word, they never say more than necessary, getting the most out of a compliment or a hidden insult. They are magnets of pleasure. People want to be around them because they know how to please. Yet they never fawn nor humiliate themselves. Great courtiers become the king's favorites, enjoying the benefits of that position. They often end up more powerful than the ruler, for they are wizards in the accumulation of influence. One of the recurring questions throughout hip-hop has been, what does Diddy do? He's not necessarily a music producer, yet his name is all over songs that are massive hits across multiple decades, on top of releasing his own music and executive producing projects here and there. Diddy is a courtier, through and through. He started off throwing parties whilst in college at Howard University, then left college to become an intern directly for Andre Harrell, founder of Uptown Records. Diddy would quickly rise through the ranks at Uptown Records, helping to bring on acts like Jodeci and Mary J. Blige, as well as earning the trust of Andre Harrell at a very young age. I was like a wonder kid at Uptown. The first record I produced sold 2 million copies, and I'd only produced it because the producer didn't show up. My talent is definitely a gift. I don't understand where it comes from. I don't play an instrument, and I never went to school for music production, but I know exactly how a song should sound and how to give an artist direction. But things wouldn't always be smooth sailing. Heavy D was an artist signed to Uptown Records, and in 1991, Diddy was promoting a charity basketball game at the City College of New York in Harlem that Heavy D was supposed to perform at. There was a venue capacity of 2,700 people, but Diddy oversold the event and there were 5,000 people in attendance. Security would close the gym when they reached capacity, which frustrated all the people outside, who pushed their way in, a stampede ensued, and 9 people died, with 29 people injured. The mayor of public safety made a statement and blamed this on Puff, stating that he didn't hire the proper personnel for the event, and if he had gotten the right people, this would have never happened. He didn't receive criminal charges, but got tons of lawsuits from people's families who died that day, and he settled immediately to quiet the noise. Keep in mind that this incident was only 5,000 people, with 9 dead. Travis Scott's Astroworld was approximately 55,000 people, with 10 dead. Yet, most people don't even know this about Diddy's past or associated with him, unless they grew up during that time. Social media wasn't really a thing at the time to spread it, but Diddy knew, even at the young age of 22 when this happened, that the press of ongoing lawsuits related to mass deaths at an event of his was something he needed to prevent at all costs. And like a smart courtier, it worked out in his favor. In 1993, Puff would be fired from Uptown Records. There are numerous different reasons that have come up during the years. According to Diddy, I was very passionate and I didn't understand protocol or workplace politics. So I got fired because there can't be 2 kings in one castle. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to Andre, but I was fighting so hard. He wanted to be more diplomatic and to make sure everybody felt involved. Getting fired was one of the best things that could have happened to me. This is a look into Diddy's psyche as a courtier. He mismanaged the balancing act between asserting power over others and yielding to superiors. And just look at the language that he used here as well. Political, diplomatic, make sure everyone felt involved, 2 kings in one castle. This is a look into Diddy's psyche as a courtier. He mismanaged the balancing act between asserting power over others and yielding to superiors, a mistake he would never make again. Just look at the language and wording he uses. Things like, I got fired because there can't be two kings in one castle. Politics. Protocol. He wanted to be more diplomatic, getting everyone involved. But he had already gained all the benefit from it, as we'll soon see. At this point, Diddy's only 24 years old. He had spent 3 years at Uptown Records, going from intern to pretty much executive, and putting out some of the hottest records ever. Built up tons of connections, and had a reputation for spotting talent. The reason for this firing, according to Harrell, I fired Puff only to make him rich. I didn't want to sit there and be the one confining Puff because the corporation was telling me to do that. I'm not built that way. I told Puff he needs to go and create his own opportunity. You're red hot right now. I'm really letting you go so you can go and get rich. I think both of these can be true at the same time. There was also talks that Notorious B.I.G. was having problems releasing his debut album with Uptown Records because their distributor thought it was too unfiltered with lyrics about street life. Diddy decides to start his own record label and take Biggie with him, but for this he needed a partner, someone with the money to help fund the operation. And that would be music industry legend Clive Davis, founder of Arista Records, and who has signed or developed acts like Pink Floyd, Whitney Houston, Aerosmith, and many others. They would form Bad Boy Records with distribution with Arista, and Biggie and Craig Mack would soon release hit singles, and a year later in 1994, the massively successful Biggie album, Ready to Die. Another thing that was odd was the Flavor Camp thing with Usher, who was sent by L.A. Reid when he was just 14 years old to live with Diddy.
And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called.
Hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. But I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at.
When asked if he would send his son there, he said,
You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
And then Diddy misremembering his age at the time.
Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes. He used to always get up early with me. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And I'm
Nobody's going to acknowledge this for me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're streaming live. That was stupid.
Which is funny because this is something that Usher has really never talked about again and kind of got brushed under the rug. And why wouldn't Usher talk about it again when he had spoke about it before? Well, to protect Diddy, of course, and Diddy had done him a lot of solids in the past years. Then there was the 1994 shooting of Tupac at Quad Studios. In an interview in 1995 with Vibe magazine, he would accuse Sean Combs, which is Diddy, Biggie, and Jimmy Henchman of setting it up. At this time, Pac and Biggie were friends, and looking up before he gets into the studio room, he notices a friend of Biggie's that hollered at him, and before the elevator comes down, 3 guys run down on Pac, pull out their guns, trying to rob him and his crew. But he believed the robbery was just a setup and the shooting was the intention, because the only person that shots were directed at were Pac. One other person got hit with a bullet, but that's just because it went through Pac. So we jumped in the elevator and went upstairs. I'm limping and everything, but I don't feel anything. It's numb. When we get upstairs, I looked around and it scared the hell out of me. The interviewer asks, why? Because Andre Harrell was there. Puffy was there. Biggie. There were about 40 people there, all of them had jewels on, more jewels than me. I saw Booker and he had this look on his face like he was surprised to see me. Why? I had just beeped the buzzer and said I was coming upstairs. Nobody approached me. I noticed that nobody would look at me. Andre Harrell wouldn't look at me. I had been going to dinner with him the last few days. He had invited me to the set of New York Undercover, telling me he was going to get me a job. Puffy was standing back too. I knew Puffy. He knew how much stuff I had done for Biggie before he came out. But this is an incident that we don't even really remember when it comes to Tupac. People just associate Pac's death, of course, but there was this shooting too. In 1999, Diddy and his crew allegedly assaulted TV host Rogelio Mills, also known as Roger Mills, after he asked if Diddy had any involvement in Biggie's death. This was a widespread rumor at the time, so everyone would look at him crazy if he didn't at least ask it. But it got Diddy so furious that he ended the interview, stormed off the set, and someone from Diddy's team came up to Mills offering to buy the footage from the incident. Mills denied this, and as he's walking to his car with the camera in his hand, he gets approached by Diddy's people, and they start to tell him to give him the tape. He refuses, so they basically force it off of him, kind of beat him up, destroy the camera and the tape on the spot. A criminal investigation in Detroit ensues, and while the police verified that the incident did in fact happen, they weren't able to identify who beat him up, so they couldn't bring charges. Roger was trying to reach out to Diddy for an apology to resolve the situation, which didn't happen, so he filed a lawsuit, a civil one against Diddy. Diddy settled and paid him out almost immediately. Now think about it. Diddy was already willing to pay for the footage, he just didn't want that to get out there. So the guy gets beat up, roughed up, they destroy the footage, the guy wants an apology, Diddy doesn't want the incident, Diddy doesn't even want people to know the incident happened. So of course he's not going to give him an apology. The guy issues a lawsuit asking for some money, Diddy's going to settle and give him some money because he was willing to give him money in the first place for this to never get out. And once he settles, the guy doesn't really talk about it, so it doesn't get out. Win-win situation for Diddy. How better to flatter and assert power over others than by bigging up their artistry, appearing in their music videos, buying them lavish gifts and cars, and charging them for all of this on the back end with alleged exploitative deals. Just some of the artists to complain about their record deals with Bad Boy Records were The Lox, who even had a Free The Lox campaign in the late 90s to get them released, and they were let go from Bad Boy to join Rough Riders. He would quickly let them go, which is something Diddy always does. When a story seems like it could get too big to harm his reputation or business, he complies. Mace was another individual who retired at the height of his fame, but when he was trying to come back, he was having contractual issues with Bad Boy and saying that Diddy held him back. Faith Evans has taken subtle shots in interviews and in her book about the financial discrepancies she saw during her career with Bad Boy despite the success she had. Whenever Diddy is faced with addressing these claims, he has always had a similar response, denying it and saying that he was someone who provided opportunities and supported his artists by helping them launch their careers in an industry where not many people make it. He also didn't do much to try and quell this narrative because it didn't really harm his business. These complaints about record contracts are an industry-wide thing, so it didn't specifically make Diddy's brand look bad or harm his potential brand opportunities. The same year as the Roger Mills incident, 1999, was the infamous club shooting. Diddy was dating Jennifer Lopez at the time, and Shine was a rapper that was signed to Bad Boy. They were all at this club when some scuffle ensues involving Diddy's crew after Diddy bumps into this guy named Scar that knocks the guy's drink out of his hand. The guy gets upset, pushes Diddy, shouting match, and another group of people joined from Scar's side that escalated into a shooting with multiple injuries. Reportedly, Puff and Shine drawing their guns first. The police pull over Diddy, Jennifer Lopez, and their driver that night, arresting all of them. J-Lo gets released without any charges, and the driver tells police that Diddy tried to bribe him to say that the gun in the car was his, typical courtier activities. Shine was charged with attempted murder, assault, and reckless endangerment. The prosecution argued that Shine fired a gun during the incident and he decided to take it to trial. In 2001, Shine was convicted of 2 counts of assault, reckless endangerment, and gun possession. He was acquitted of attempted murder, but was sentenced to 10 years in prison and then deported to Belize. Diddy was charged in connection with the shooting, facing allegations of illegal gun possession and bribery. The bribery charge was related to allegations that he offered his driver money to claim ownership of the weapon found in the vehicle after fleeing the scene. Diddy took it to trial too, with a high-profile lawyer, and was acquitted of all charges. Diddy also faced civil lawsuits from victims of the shooting afterwards. It's reported that he settled these suits out of court, although the details and amount of the settlements were not publicly disclosed. This was done very quietly and low profile, something that became Diddy's MO even until this day. And it's something that's very smart and courtier of him, is that he doesn't have an ego when it comes to these things. A lot of people would say, I'm not settling, this isn't real, I'm gonna beat this in court, I'm gonna fight this off the principle of it. But Diddy knows that regardless, he's gonna spend money, and it's going to harm him if it stays public because his image is his brand, is his business. Years later though, Shine would call out the behavior of Diddy and actions by him and his legal team during the trial that he felt helped convict him but set Diddy free. This was in reference to a woman that was working the club that night who claimed she fell on top of Puff during the shooting and that he did not have a gun. She told the jurors that it was Shine who first opened fire in the club. Shine's lawyers were also on Diddy's payroll at Bad Boy Records, and Shine would later even complain about their competency to the judge. Think about it. Would a courtier sell out his unproven new artist for a guaranteed prison sentence if it meant keeping his record clean? It would definitely be a smart and tactical political move to make it seem like your artist was the one that was crazy and wilding out, whilst you were just trying to maintain peace and didn't mean harm to anyone. Very soon after this, Diddy would have a name change, which he would do later in his career too. He went from Puff Daddy, that is in this case the Roger Mills incident, the deaths at the college show, to P. Diddy, a fresh and positive rebrand, including the way he responded to Shine's allegations while he was serving his prison sentence. Just from what we've seen thus far, in the public, and there are countless other stories I can bring up too, Diddy is a courtier through and through. So if he was able to effectively clean his brand, change names multiple times, to the point where prior to this Cassie thing, what he was known for by the majority of people was Ciroc, and perhaps being sus and gay rumors, with most people not associating any of the actual bad things he was involved in, such as the crowd crush deaths, Shine case, multiple violent encounters, dare I say countless violent encounters, then you can tell any rumors around him he either allowed to float or amplified them. Think about it, the Tupac accusation was so big that you can't really quell that one. And it doesn't harm him because only people deep in hip-hop even think that Diddy ordered Pac's death. And even then, it makes him look tough and menacing, which is a pro in hip-hop. The sus rumors, I think, are there to divert attention from things he has actually done, so I think he just allows them to go around. Kind of like a smokescreen, which has been effective, and the closest thing we've heard to Diddy actually engaging directly with men was the Cassie stuff. And while that was very disturbing, and I would say even past sus, he didn't physically interact with the dudes. Diddy is always quick to settle court cases, uplifts people he think will benefit him and grow to powerful positions later, allegedly greases pockets like he was willing to do for the footage from the interview where he stormed off, the driver the night of the club shooting, and the hotel that he allegedly paid $50,000 for footage of him allegedly abusing Cassie. It's no wonder that the majority of the industry decides to do the Will Smith meme and look away when this happens. If you're counting Diddy out right now, you're mistaken. It hasn't even been 3 months and the majority of people have moved past this story. He'll have a canned response for any future interviews, and whilst he's lost a lot of deals, it's nothing that time and people forgetting can't heal. Just remember, Mike Tyson at one point served prison time for SA. He has tons of brand deals now. And Diddy has zero tangible proof against him or charges of anything. And now Cassie is paid to shut up for the rest of her life. Travis Scott lost all of his deals after the Astroworld incident. They all popped back up about 1.5 years, 2 years after. But had Diddy not moved like a courtier these past several decades and treated the wrong people poorly, or the non-powerful people poorly, there would be a committee ready to take him down. But he treated the right people poorly, or allegedly took advantage of them, and made the people who mattered and had power to ever harm him or take him down, made sure they were taken care of and respected. Great courtiers are gracious and polite. Their aggression is veiled and indirect. We have heard of countless incidents of Diddy being involved in violence, whether it was slapping someone, beating someone up, shootings, hitting the head coach with a kettlebell at the college that his son was playing in. But we have never seen it with our own eyes. And when we have seen Diddy in media interviews and in front of us, he's always nothing but polite and gracious, even funny at times, and just giddy. They are magnets of pleasure. People want to be around them because they know how to please. Pause. Yet they neither fawn nor humiliate themselves. Diddy was most known for his parties. From his college days, even until prior to Cassie with the, quote, parties. We don't know how that will continue, but someone has to be a magnet of pleasure for everyone in the industry to not only want to be at his parties, but also be around him or work with him for the past 30 years.